I don't see us on camera. That's why I'm saying. All right. Ujjayi, and welcome to the Gator Gates podcast. It's been a minute since we've been up with you guys. You know, I know you guys missed us. We missed you guys. And here we are. We're here at NJPac, here at Kwanzaa Fest. And, you know, backed by popular demand, there's a lot of people that have been waiting for us to get back on it and to get back on the scene and to bring the podcast back for season 2. Technically, this is not season 2. This is a little sneak peek and a little taste of what's to come and, you know, what we've been up to. But we were specifically requested to make it out here for Kwanzaa Fest. And before we get started, I would like to acknowledge all the forces of the non-material, all the ancestors standing behind this great work, and all the powers of nature that are standing behind this great work, and all of our ancestors for bringing us together, and all of the spirits and the non-material bringing us all together. And without further ado, my name is Tutip Samahekwan Amir. I am your host of Gate of Gates. As you can see, Kaj Jezreem is not here. He'll be with us very shortly, but I'm here with
Ishkara Hekwati, the one and only.
And Gail Codridge.
Gail is so kind enough to join us, as this is the way we're going to do today's show. We're going to be having people come up that are here at the festival and joining the discussion with us at various times, and as we discuss different things and various things. So, as I said, we are at Kwanzaa Fest. So, because we're at Kwanzaa Fest, we wanted to talk about Kwanzaa, and particularly we wanted to center the discussion around what is Kwanzaa, where does it come from, what does it mean, and what are we doing? And if I was to ask you, Gail, what does Kwanzaa mean to you?
Kwanzaa means the unity of African Americans coming together to celebrate their unity, their I would say, unity of economics, and coming together as a community. Because before we didn't have that. We had something where, as you might have called, Black Wall Street in the past, where we were together as a people. But Kwanzaa is known as an African American holiday with the 7 principles. And the principle that I like the most is Umoja, which means unity.
So, thank you. You touch on a lot, right?
Thank you.
And so I'm going to just double back on a couple things. So for starters, you said it's our holiday, right?
Yes, it is.
So then let me ask you then, is Christmas not for us?
Well, Christmas is for anyone who wants to celebrate and wants to feel a part of it.
So then what about Hanukkah?
Hanukkah? I have always known Hanukkah to be within the Jewish community.
So let me ask you this. Can you give us a little bit of history, if you know it, on like Kwanzaa and how it came to be and its inception?
Okay. I really, at this present time, cannot recall.
It's okay. I know.
Okay.
I put you on the spot, Gail.
That's okay. That's
yeah,
okay.
So I'm not. I don't want you to feel like pressure to make something up.
Okay. It was invented or created by a black man, and he felt that we as a people did not have anything to say that, hey, this is our holiday. So it is known by the 7 candles, which is the 7 principles, where it's not so much similar to Christmas, but yet with the 7 principles, each day is family unity, where they come in and light a candle, and on that last day is family coming together and making of gifts. It's not going out to buy those gifts, but being creative, being yourself, being united within the family, and celebrating.
So you touched on something before, and you were talking about economics, right?
Yes.
And then we were talking about Black Wall Street. So I know a little bit about the history of Black Wall Street and the demise of Black Wall Street, right? And for those that don't know kind of like the history of Black Wall Street, just to kind of give you a little bit of like an overview without going into all of the nitty-gritty details, it was essentially a area in Tulsa, Oklahoma, right?
Exactly.
And it was a bunch of black people that got together, and then they basically started their own community, and then started their own economic powerhouse within that community. And what happened was there were some people that weren't fond of it, and when I say some people, I mean white people. And then they came in and then just destroyed, killed a bunch of people, destroyed everything in Tulsa, and we've never seen anything like that since in terms of black people coming together economically. Now, the question I have ultimately
Yes.
is, what is it about us trying to continue to form an identity within the Western society that leads us to these kind of outcomes, like the massacre in Tulsa and the destruction of Black Wall Street? How come we don't just say, you know what, like, we're with Marcus Garvey and we're out of here, and we're gonna go and then build our own economic powerhouses outside of America?
What is it? I believe that it stems from slavery times, whereas we were, and I'll use the word captured from our own ancestral land, our own culture, our own tradition, our own language. And so much of that has been taken from us till now. We have to come together to realize, like, hey, we have our own self-identity, and with that, we can build our own economic power. And from that stems a whole lot.
So, I don't want to cut the conversation short.
Yes.
But I know that there's a brother waiting. So, before we transition to the brother coming up here, is there anything you want to touch on before you leave us, Gail?
Okay, there's only one last comment I would like to say. This is my second year coming, and each year it expands, and all of the exhibits and the activities that go on are really awesome, and I love it. And I would like for NJPac to continue this each and every year. And thank you for having me.
We appreciate you for coming on.
Thank
Such
you.
a pleasure to meet you, Gail.
Yeah.
Same
Until
here.
next
Take
time.
care.
We appreciate you
Bye-bye.
for being a trooper and being the
Yep.
first one on.
First
Oh,
one.
gosh. Okay, thank you.
Like I said, we're gonna have a rolling supply of people that are coming on the show. So we have our next victim coming up right now. How you doing, bro? Good. My name's Tutipsa. What's your name?
Say that again?
Tutipsa.
Tutipsa?
Oh wow, you got it. I was gonna say I'm not gonna expect you to get it.
All good.
What was your name?
Naquan. Naquan.
Naquan.
Yeah.
We're here with Naquan. This is
Iskara.
Iska?
Iskara.
Iskata.
yo. This guy.
Pleasure.
Yeah, you're a
Good,
pro.
good.
Yeah.
Pleasure.
Yeah, you're really good at it. So, welcome. So what we're doing is we're having a rolling discussion, right?
Okay.
So we were just talking with Gail, and the conversation popped off, and we were talking about Kwanzaa,
Okay.
right? And the inception of Kwanzaa, where it came from, and how it's a holiday for Black people, created by Black people.
Right.
And then also Gail was touching on Black Wall Street. And are you familiar with Black Wall Street and
Yeah,
Tulsa,
yeah.
all that? And we were talking about how the destruction of the demise of Black Wall Street came, right?
Right.
And then so I was posing the question to Gail, if we saw that the outcome of Black Wall Street was people saying, like, we don't want you to be here, and destroying Black Wall Street as we
Right.
know it, then why don't we just leave? Why do we stay in America, and why do we keep trying to build a foothold or build a place here in America? What do you think?
I think it's
Just make sure you talk to the mic because there's a lot of
Yeah,
background. You can
So-
pick it up too if you want. It's up to you.
so I think it is difficult because it's like I'd rather know the enemy that's in front of me than what's on the other end.
That's real.
So for a lot of us, we don't really know what's in Africa. Like, you hear about it, but there isn't anything tangible that we can relate to, that we can associate with Africa. So going back to Africa is a big unknown, as opposed to what's here. It's like, I already know what's in America. Granted, it may not be great for us, but I at least know it, you know? So a lot of people is just afraid of that change and afraid of that leap.
I don't know whether you just agree or you want to ask or you want to.
Oh no, I'm just saying that
Yeah.
that's real.
I think
you
Ishkana's
know?
like, yeah. Yeah, she's like, the devil you know is better than the devil you
I
don't
mean,
know.
and
Exactly.
that's what holds a lot of people back, and that's what keeps a lot of people like in the place that
Just talk to the mic.
that keeps a lot of us in the place that, you know, we're in, the familiar, you know, and, you know, like we want to think and we want to even believe that there's no place in Africa to go back to, but what if you found out that there was somewhere to go back to? What would you do then? If you found out, you know what, there is a bridge, there's someone that I can like that will help us cross over and go back, like a modern day Marcus Garvey,
Yeah.
if you will. You know what I mean? What if you found out that there was that person or that group? Would you go? Would you come out of your comfort zone? It's still a matter of like the familiar, you know?
I think if my family moved there, then I'd consider it. Like, and I'd also be open to sort of trying to motivate my family to do something like that. Now, I've been to Africa once.
Where'd you go?
I went to Ghana. I also
Okay.
went to Egypt. And I felt at home. Like, that was probably the only surreal moment in my life. And I heard something that I didn't hear since I was in elementary school, where we have a call and response. So the teacher would say, I go, and the kids would say, Amen, you know, which is to say, listen, I hear you, I'm listening, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I heard that in Africa, in Ghana. And the last time I heard it was when I was at elementary school. And people was like, it was like a tourist attraction. We was like up on a walk bridge, and everyone was making a fuss, and they said that. And I said it back naturally, and then I realized that I said it. And I was like, wow, like, I have African roots that I didn't really think of. I remember Kwanzaa from when I was younger, but in my adult life, I didn't see much of it. So growing up in Brooklyn, I saw a lot of that. You know, so I'd be open to even having dual citizenship and going out there.
That's
you know?
good.
So then let me ask you this, because I know you touched on a lot that I kind of want to double back to. Like, in particular, what is it about, because like I grew up in the States, right? But my parents are from Africa. My parents are from Sudan. And I noticed and I learned that like there tends to be like odds that Africans and black people find themselves at. Because it's like black people will look at like Africans like, okay, you don't look at us like we're with you. And then Africans will look at black people like, why are you acting like that?
For sure.
You know, there's obvious odds, and we're obvious, like it's clearly that we're on opposite sides of the fence when it comes to the way we interact with each other culturally.
Right.
And I find it so interesting because me personally, growing up in the States, I will see the way it functions back home. And like the way, you know, Africans will look at us and the way we look at Africans and the way, you know, the whole thing goes.
Right.
And I say that as I'm on both sides, right?
Right.
I'm playing both sides. What do you think we need to do in order to bridge that unknown, in order for black people and Africans to understand, like, okay, they just dropped us off and then they just, you know, grabbed some of us and then it's just the culture that's been lost. How do you think we bridge that gap? I feel like your bro wants to chime in. yeah, you can.
Should I introduce myself or?
Yeah, you're perfect. Yeah.
Okay, I'm good. Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, Kenton Connors. Just to answer the question, I think we need a gateway. I call it a gateway, right? I feel like if you do business, if you do anything, if you go a social setting, right, you can't just pull to the party and you don't know anybody, right? So I feel like if we marriage is a gateway, right? Usually we marriage into a family, you feel more comfortable, you might be a part of that family. For example, I think it was Ludacris. His wife is from some continent in Africa. He got a citizenship there, and like he's good. Like he had a gateway. I feel like friendship could be a gateway, someone like you, but I feel like we need somebody on both sides, if you will, to kind of be that connection. I don't think you just pull up to anybody's space and just expect like full validation and be able to just walk through the space. So I think we just need a gateway. We need people to be on both sides, someone who knows American experience, someone who knows the continental African experience, and then we can just, you know, build from there.
And let me ask, did you want to say something?
Yeah. And I also would add just having empathy for people and having these type of conversations, because oftentimes you see people from the African continent come over and they excel, they do well. You know, I just graduated from business school and we have a large portion of international students, and going to business school in Atlanta, and there's only a few that are like Black Americans, and it's like, why in such a Black American city do you not have as much of us? You know, so it's like Africans who come here and excel, but these are the cream of the crop, if you will, or these people who you know had parents or grandparents who thought enough to come here to make better of themselves, compare themselves to the broader African American community, which a lot of people are struggling, just like a lot of people struggle overseas, right? You don't compare themselves to people who are doing well. You compare yourselves to the masses, and it's like you yourself aren't the norm in the country elsewhere, but you compare yourselves to the people who are struggling. You don't know what Mississippi looks like, right? It may be comparable to what you see in Haiti for you, it's the poorest state. So it's like just having empathy and understand that everybody who is in America don't buy Jordans. Like everybody don't have access to clean water, you know? So America doesn't look like a monolith, so you should not treat it as such, even though there are people who don't take advantage of the opportunity.
So here's the thing I would ask you guys, right, is what are some of the things you guys think we could start doing now to kind of start that process? Because I hear you guys, economically, culturally, there's just a lot of, because it's sort of like, I'm not from Compton. I'm not going to Compton. Like, if I don't know nobody in Compton, there's no way in hell I'm going to Compton. Because niggas is going to run up on me and be like, where you from? Like, it just, I understand the mindset. It's like, we got to make sure we're going somewhere where it's family, where we're actually being welcomed. So then what do you think are the things we can start doing in order to start to cultivate that? Like, realistically, like tomorrow, if the three of us are like, all right, we're going back, what do you think are the things we would need to do?
When we go, you go. Okay, all right. I mean, test 1, 2. For me, I think, personally, it's like, it starts with education, right? Re-educating. I think unlearning certain things and learning new things. And I think it starts with like the newer generation, perhaps, right? Just teaching them about the Pan-African experience. I think, to your point, you're not really going to want to engage in this process if you don't even believe in kind of some quintessential Pan-Africanism, right? It's no way me as a Black American would really want to connect with somebody in Brazil if I don't quintessentially believe we're all kind of one people. So
if
I think
you don't see yourself in them, or don't see the identity, like your identity matching with their identity.
So I think you got to start with just clicking up with like-minded people. I think you can do that today, right? Find the like-minded people. Like, you can't force something. You can't force that on people who don't really believe in, oh, I'm not really that. So just click up with the like-minded people, I think, is number one. And then you can kind of build from there. I think you can start that today. Conferences, conventions, just little forums, things like that. Things like we're doing right now, podcasts, you know, connecting. I think that's a good number one, step one.
So for me, also just having conversations. Like, I feel like half the time we don't stop and ask our family about where we came from. Like, and I try to ask my grandmother and such, you know, it is triggering, but it's we need to like fight through that. We need to ask those questions. Like, my lineage starts with my grandmother, with my grandmother's end, and essentially, you know, so it's like we don't have those conversations. So just being open to like, dude, like you think we started when we became slaves in this country?
Oh, I'm gonna stop you right there. I'm gonna stop you right there because I think that's the perfect segue. So then, why is it so hard for us to then say, my identity doesn't start from slavery, and let me go back? Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's pride, right? If we think this country, if you think of Black Americans, like we all are in one big gumbo pot. If you think of like Black Americans, you can't tell Jamaican from a Haitian from anyone. right?
Exactly.
Like
Unless
we
they open their mouth.
exactly.
Unless you see, like, okay, you know
you
what,
can kinda
this
tell
person
Jamaicans.
functions differently.
But we all
How?
How
yeah,
they dress.
yeah.
but we all like to say
The colors? Yeah, I look. Sean Paul and I are the same color. Unless Sean Paul opens his mouth,
you
you
look like
don't
Sean
know
Paul.
Sean Paul.
Clothes that they wear. You can tell Jamaicans.
Yeah, exactly.
I like your all
I
I
bet you when conscious river roll up here, you're gonna know conscious river.
Make sure you talk to them like they don't know who the hell that is, so
Okay.
they don't know
But
what we're
he's
talking
gonna
about.
know.
But
They're
he's
gonna know.
Jamaican.
But that's the
Yeah.
point. It's like we have so much pride and we get caught up in like, yo, growing up African home. Like, yo, it is black nationalism. But if I go to Brazil, I'm like, yo, you couldn't tell me from the Brazilians
Exactly.
until I open my mouth. So we can't get stuck because people would ask me, yo, where you from? And I say Brooklyn, but where you from? I'm from Brooklyn.
no, they're
Right.
like, no, but
But
where
not
you really
but
from?
my
Yeah.
family is from the South, from South Carolina. But South Carolina to me is Jamaica to you. You not from Jamaica. You not from Haiti either. Let's be real, right? Dominicans are not from the DR. Like there is no such thing as Dominican. Like you're a mixture of things. You know, so I'm like, you don't question me if we not questioning the whole thing. You know, so I'm like, yo, Jamaica was a stop, Brazil was a stop, Cuba was a stop, America was a stop. Like we need to be real with ourselves. Like, yo, our nationality, we could have pride while still also understanding that we all come from the same place.
Yeah.
So the reason why I'm asking all these questions
Yeah.
and the reason why we're having this discussion is because, like, I grew up here in the States. I'm African. Did you grow up in the States? I don't even know.
No, I grew up
You
in the islands.
You grew up in the
Tortola.
islands.
Yeah, the British Virgin Islands.
Okay.
Huh? Oh, there's someone else. Don't worry, we're not. You ready to kick people out? we're having a great conversation. Yeah, it's over here. Get right out of here. Because we all have gone back to Africa and we've been initiated into tribes back in Africa, and that's what we are. But it's like nobody understands what we do, because everyone's just like, yo, why is there a white lady? Why is this light-skinned dude here? You know, why is this lady from the islands? And then why is there like she's from Ghana too? So then it's like nobody understands what's bringing us all together. And the thing is that we were lucky enough to then find an organization that was like, okay, cool. If you guys want a gateway back into the real version of Africa, like the real type of culture, then this is how you do it. And then there's like somebody that's vouching there for you, and it's like, okay, if you want to reclaim your culture, then I'm gonna put my name on the line to be like, okay, cool, like I'm with these people. Now that's not saying that everybody, you know, takes the opportunity with two hands. A lot of people fuck it up and then just make it look bad for all of us that are here, because then people go there and then they're like, okay, you know what, like maybe like they're not serious about really getting the culture back, because then you realize like you got to start from scratch. You realize it's not easy and it's not fun, and then you realize that a lot of the things you think you know and a lot of the things we think are us is not us, and we learned it from the colonizers without throwing out buzzwords, without throwing out the way that everything that we do and how we approach it is coming from the colonizer.
I have a question.
So yes,
Am I able to ask a question?
of course,
A parting
yeah,
question?
no, we're not kicking you out.
All
Don't
right.
worry.
No, because you mentioned the differences that y'all have, different nationalities, different
Mm-hmm.
backgrounds. Do y'all embrace the new things that y'all picked up along the way? When I say y'all, like culturally, like your ancestors, because some things are built from like Eurocentric values or Western values, but do y'all denounce those things as y'all go back, or do y'all kind of form it all together, take the traditional and the new?
You have to do both.
Okay, so
You have to do both. There's
Okay,
no
let me-
way in hell. Like, let's keep it real. I grew up in New York. Like, if I'm gonna be like, all right, tomorrow I'm getting a hut, and I'm gonna
Right.
live in the middle
In the
of
aqueduct.
nowhere.
Yeah.
I'm
No
gonna go
plumbing.
find water. I'm gonna start hunting. I'm gonna go kill some gazelle. Like, and I'm throwing out stereotypes,
Yeah,
right?
of course,
Like,
right.
just there's no way in hell I would be dead by next week
Right.
if I tried to do that for real. Unless I really take the time to understand that we live in a time and we live in an age where there's no way you're gonna get away from this. There are people in indigenous villages that have this. And that's why I think the world is so much I think people think we live in a crazy time. I just think that in actuality, we just have a device that allows us to be able to see what's happening in other parts of the world. They can't lie to us and say this isn't happening there. You can't only get your source of what's happening from the mainstream media. So I think anyone that thinks that it's like all or nothing is a liar, because there's no way you do that. I just think it's about understanding you're gonna have to put yourself through a process, and that in order to go home is very difficult, and it's not gonna be fun, and most of the time you're gonna be like, fuck this, why did I do this in the first place? You know what I mean? Because you're gonna come across people that you don't like, you're gonna come across people you don't wanna deal with, you're gonna come across things you don't wanna do, because then it's like, okay, people are like, yeah, in Africa, okay, we all eat with our hands. And you're like, but I really want a fork.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, okay, I need a fork, I need a knife. It's like, you're gonna come across that, and then it's like, if you're gonna sit there and you're gonna front and be like, well, from this day forward, I will only eat with my hands, and then you walk into an Indian restaurant and then you're like, get this fork out of here. It's like, then you're just lying to yourself. So it's a process, and it's not gonna happen overnight. It's just that we're all here as forward-facing people that are like, all right, look, like, let's keep it real. We gotta try something different, and we gotta start the process, because eventually we're gonna have to go home, because our ancestors are calling us. Whether we admit it or not, like, the blood has to find its way back to the continent. Where we're from, the land, everything that we've made agreements with, whether that be, you know, the trees, whether that be the mountains, whether that be the water, whatever it is, those things haven't forgotten us.
Yeah.
And we gotta find our way back eventually. So if we're being honest, it's sort of like we all know that, like, this is the party. Like, America's the party for us. But eventually, you gotta leave the party, you gotta go home.
Yeah. You mind if I say one more thing?
Of course, of course, of course.
I'll leave with this. And to his point, we condemn the American white man and maybe even the British. But in the same breath, we big up our Spanish heritage for a lot of our Spanish-speaking Africans from, like, the Caribbean, right? So I'm like,
Kaja's Raymond called me.
So it is difficult for me to understand how we condemn the white man and we big up the Spanish and we want to go to Spain and Italy when they
Or South America.
They were like the main ones. So
They
I'm
were the
like,
first
yo,
ones.
you yourself, if you leaning
Portuguese.
towards your Spanish heritage, that is what you signing up for, right? Unless you condemn it, I'm thinking you good with it.
Well, you know what it is? It's like, it's the divide and conquer that they did to us. Where it's like, in order for the three of us to be at odds, then it's like, okay, you know what? It'd be like, he has a longer beard, so he's gonna be in charge. But that's as ridiculous as then being like, okay, your skin tone between the three of y'all determines who's in charge.
Yeah.
So that's the way they did us, is that they would make sure, okay, you know what? The house nigga gonna be light-skinned, but then the field nigga gonna be dark. So then the dark-skinned nigga gonna look at the light-skinned nigga and be like, I don't like that nigga. And then the light-skinned nigga gonna look at the dark-skinned nigga and be like, I'm better than this nigga. And it's a joke, but when you look at Django, it's like, that's what it is. They're people that look like us, but they ain't for us.
But we gotta speak up on that, because I'm like, I understand intersectionality of identities. I get it, but we can't be hypocrites about it. Like, the Spanish did us dirty, but we have so much pride in speaking Spanish and speaking French. Like, why you think we speak French? Like, they still over there.
I hate French.
They still over there violating in Africa, still over there violating in Haiti. Like, you know how the debt that Haiti had to pay the French, but we still bigging up Paris and the Eiffel Tower. That's why I'm not in a rush to go visit, because I understand, we still fighting that war. But I'm good on it.
Here's the thing. It's happening. And, like, I don't know if you know, but, like, the Sahel states, the Sahara, the sub-Saharan Africa, like, I don't know whose that is, but you can have it. That's yours. Coming to prove the point. She's like, is this yours, nigga? Yeah. This is mine now. Is this it? All right, let me stop. Yeah, before they're like, yeah. But, like, but the point being is, like we just kicked France out, like because we're based in Burkina Faso, right? And I don't know if you kept up with what happened with Burkina Faso and Mali and Niger, and how like we kicked France out, and like now we're making alliances that are in our best interest. So we're making alliances with like Russia, and we're making alliances with other countries because it's like, yo, like it doesn't make sense for us. And I know you're an economics guy. It's even like BRICS. I don't know if you keep up with BRICS, but it's like the economic alliances that are happening, even with Brazil, with Russia, with India, with China, with South Africa, with the countries in the Middle East, and all these other places. They're like, you know what? Like, we're really not with the way Western colonialism does things. And like, okay, if you want the fight to be about economics, then we'll take the fight to you economically because we have all the resources. So it's happening. So don't give it up. It's happening. And it's like, we're here as a testament that the fight is happening and we're doing it on both sides. Because we're here and letting people know, like, hey, you know what? We're over there fighting and we're going back. We got a way back in. Because we got people that are vouching for us. Because the way that they open up doors in terms of the culture is different. It's different. Because if you go there, let's keep it all the way real. You go there without that way in, they're gonna be like, would you like to buy some kente cloth? Like, what are you here for? You know what I mean? Like, it's just gonna be on some tourist shit. But you go back there with somebody for real, and then it's like, okay, yeah, this is what we do. This is how we do it. This is how we function. This is how we move. So it's there.
And vice versa.
Vice versa.
Appreciate y'all.
We appreciate y'all.
Appreciate you too.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
For real. And take one of the flyers so you guys know where we are and all that stuff, and we'll connect.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Tiasta said we have somebody else. I don't know if the person ran away or not.
I think they.
So I'm gonna
left.
keep.
Oh, thank you
I'm gonna
so
keep
much.
us.
Thanks for
I'm gonna
coming.
keep us going. So then y'all don't think that we're just sitting here in silence and then losing you guys. Tiasta, where's the other person? Oh, they walked away. It's all good. It's okay. We were enjoying the conversation, and the conversation we were having was good. So.
Yeah, I saw on Instagram the other day.
So there's the girl one.
Yeah, this African American girl, she was literally saying like, I'm not African, I'm American, because I don't know nothing about Africa.
He's coming. Are you gonna roll through with this new person, or do you want Kaja Zarima to take over?
Is coming up.
All right, Kaja Zarima, we're live, bro. We're on camera right now and everything, and we got the next guy coming. So Kaja Zarima, switch.
Sir.
How you doing, bro?
How y'all doing today?
How you
Nice to
doing?
meet you.
Pleasure to meet you both.
My name is Tutipsa. What's your name?
Tati? Say that one more time.
It's okay. Tutipsa.
Tutipsa. I'm
Yeah.
Craig Bradley.
Craig
I go by the name of
Bradley.
Free.
Free.
Yes.
Nice to meet you. Just make sure you're talking to the mic for me.
Perfect. I don't got no headphones to hear myself.
It's
so
okay. If we
gonna
were
pretend.
listening to the headphones, and it would be a lot of feedback
I
because
know.
of the background.
It's all good.
So Kaja Zarima, welcome back.
Yeah.
Jay, what's up? What's up?
They swapped out the
No, this is the host.
Okay,
This
host.
is the original host.
Pleasure to meet you, brother.
How you
So-
doing, man? What's your name?
I'm Craig Bradley. Yes, sir. Okay, pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to
We
meet
were just
you, Craig.
holding it down with a guest host.
Okay.
Until the host made it through all of the
Absolutely.
customs and all that
Absolutely.
stuff.
Yeah, you know, a lot
I
of traffic
understand.
out there.
VIP type treatment.
It's what do they call it? The Sabbath.
Oh no, it's Christmas, bro.
Yeah, but you know, it's the
Christmas,
Sabbath
so
for
it's
other
like
people.
everyone.
You know,
it's like the roads are crazy, bro.
Yeah.
With Christmas,
Holiday
like I was
season,
trying to
all those
just
things.
go certain places, and I was like, why am I even outside?
yeah.
Like I'm only here because of the podcast. If it wasn't for the podcast, then I would not be outside right now.
Well, let me start
I'd
by
be at
asking
home.
you guys a question, if I might.
Of course. Shoot. Talk
What,
to the microphone.
what is the goal of this podcast here?
Okay, I thought you'd never ask. Well, for starters, I'll let Kaja Zarima take this because I know he just got here and I know he can do this,
Gotcha.
and it can be a warm up for him.
Do I get the one with no salt? Can I?
Take
get one of
it.
these?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Yeah, that's a good
Let's do it.
question. The goal of the podcast. I mean, why do anything without a goal, right? So the goal of the podcast really is to get people to understand traditional, ancient, indigenous perspectives.
Okay.
Because nowadays we have a perspective that's really coming from like modern society. So modern society is basically our main educator. So as our main educator, we're kind of like the opposition to the main educator at this moment in time. Because as you read the shirt here, it says Merita, back to your regular scheduled decolonization.
Okay.
So that's what this podcast really is for, to give people a different thought, different perspectives, open people's minds a little bit, show them, there's other ways to think, there's other schools of thought, and there's a way our ancestors did it. So why not learn those ways and, adopt those into our lives instead of living the lives of the modern educator.
Understood.
Make sense?
Yes, sir. Beautiful.
So we were just having a conversation with with the two brothers. I don't know if you caught it or not, but we were talking about like where are you from?
I'm from Newark.
You're from Newark.
Yeah.
Okay. So the two brothers that were here, one of them was from Brooklyn. I didn't catch where the other one was from, but we were talking about how there's clearly like a disconnect between Black people and Africans, right?
Okay.
And like, how do we bridge that gap? And we were talking about a few different ways, like economics, but like the main topic of conversation centered around, it's like, okay, so you're from Newark. Have you been to any other areas in the States?
Yes.
Just give me like one or two.
Well, I've been to, can you consider, Puerto Rico's a state now. It's
What'd
a
you say?
territory, I guess you could say.
What'd you say?
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico. I've been there.
That's very funny you break
North
that.
Carolina,
Okay.
Virginia.
Okay, let me ask you this. In Puerto Rico or Virginia or North Carolina, did you go to any areas where you didn't feel like you shouldn't be there? Or did you go to any places where you were like, you know what, I shouldn't go there? Because I don't know nobody. And I don't want nobody running up on me or anything like that.
I'll give you a perfect example. I recently just visited Wilmington, Delaware. Wilmington, Delaware is a place actually right next to Wilmington. There's a place called Newark as well, or Newark, right? And when I went to Wilmington, it was the first time that I felt like, okay, I'm outside of my home, but I don't feel like I went too far. All right, it looked exactly the same. The feelings were the same. The conversations were the same. The music was the same. The only thing that was different was me. Right?
Okay.
So just going into a different environment, I think that was the adjustment period. I think on the first day that I was out there, there was a person that was like, what the f you looking at, right? And I was like, wow, it feels just like home,
Wait, someone was looking at you like that?
Yeah, right?
Okay.
But
in Wilmington, Delaware?
Yeah. Now, in some cases, I think these things can make people uncomfortable. In other cases, it makes a person feel right at home, right? Because if you don't hear the music or the chatter or anything else, it could be too quiet for you. That's why most people that move to the suburbs, they move quickly back to the city once they leave, right? Because they're just like, it's just too different. It's very uncomfortable. I think in relations to the African and African American conversation, we have more similarities than we ever had differences, right? And looking at or focusing on the similarities, may they be good or bad, right? So he used the example of economics. Okay, let's look at economics. I think the number one similarity that we both have in economics is the lack thereof of control or ownership in our own communities, right? So we allow a lot of other people to come in and be decision makers, and we should have that primary control within ourselves. So I think that's one of the things that we could discuss, and then how can we overcome it, or what's the common tendencies or traits of these people that are causing us to lose this type of control over time, right? May it be of resources, minerals, anything else. We should start to look at that type of stuff. But yeah, continue. Ask more parts to that.
So it's okay. We're live. You're good. You're good. You're good. It's all right.
The camera needs to see you. The camera needs to see you. That woman, she organized a lot of this stuff that's going on here today.
So, for instance, like the organization we're part of, right? Because you were asking the podcast, like I'm seeing it happen in real time, like when she walked by. So that's why I'm laughing. So what we are is we're a nonprofit, right? And we're called KEPTA, or AKA also known as, it translates to the Earth Center.
Okay.
And what we are is we're an indigenous 501(c)(3), and what we do is we do things like land buybacks.
Beautiful.
And we empower the indigenous while we are ultimately an indigenous-run organization. So we bring indigenous culture to the West for people to then get back into the indigenous culture and have a real gateway back into the indigenous way of life in Africa. So for starters, like, ownership's a huge thing. And I think that because we're here for Kwanzaa Fest, right?
Yes.
And we were talking to Gail. Gail was the first lady that came on. And then we were talking to Naquan, the second dude that came on, and then his friend. And we were talking about identity. So then, if ownership is important to us, what about the ownership of our identity? Because we were talking about how our identity didn't start with slavery.
Okay.
But it seems like this country and everything that this country produces in terms of content, in terms of media, in terms of music, in terms of film,
Education.
wants us to start our identity with slavery. So then how do we take ownership back into our hands in terms of our identity with even something as small as like Kwanzaa? Because Kwanzaa is us attempting to gain an identity by creating because let's keep it real, we created a holiday for us, by us, right? And then we said like, okay, Christmas isn't for us.
Okay.
Hanukkah isn't for us, but Kwanzaa is ours. So then what other parts of our identity do we need to reclaim? Not only holidays, not only economics, but culturally. What are some of the things that you think we need to start with in terms of reclaiming our identity, taking ownership of our identity?
Yeah. I mean, we could look at it in a very simplistic way, something that's probably really overlooked: writing, right? Just simply writing. Writing, reading. You know, I look at it like this: we are attempting to change a system that wasn't meant to be changed. So therefore, we're already at a disadvantage in that whole thing. We would have to assemble a completely and entirely new system in order to change anything. Other than that, you're always playing against whatever the original rule set is. It's like if you had a Monopoly board game, you don't come in and you make, I mean, let's use a better game, for example, right? We all play Uno, right? And for us, we're like, yo, there's hood rules where you can stack draw twos and draw fours and everything else. And then you have the proper rules, which will tell you like, yo, you can't even stack a draw two on top of a draw four, and it got to be the same color and everything. And then they playing by color examples and everything else. So when you come into someone else's house and you like, I don't like the way you play Uno. But I'm playing by the rules. You just made something up to fit your playing standards a little bit better, right? So is it on them for playing the game how it's supposed to be played, or is it on us for trying to make our own rules in sense, or make the system bend to us to play it the way that we want to play it, right? We have to dismantle and start our own system, our own parties, our own everything.
Well, what would that be based on? Like, I love your thought process. For example, like what you just said is very huge. For example, like the color game, right?
Yeah.
Uno's a perfect example. You can see that play out in our society.
Yes.
It's like it's black and it's white. Like that's the dynamic here. Even like what he said with Kwanzaa, right? The whole reason for that is because, again, that whole concept of black versus white, like us versus them. But in us trying to do that, right, kind of make our own rules or play by our own rules or live our own game, how do we do that if we don't already know the identity of where we come from?
Yeah, perfect. There's a couple of points I can make to something like that, because as I become more in tune, or more whatever you want to say, I see that it's less about black and white than anything. It's really about power structures and like we said in the beginning, economics, right? So we're seeing something happen in real time where we see that the rich truly do rule over everything. And money in this system is the golden ticket, right? So therefore, you cannot fight a battle with someone or go to war with them if you're not basing it on the economics. So that's our first starting point with all of this stuff. It's the same way we're doing this here. But if we're not the manufacturers of those goods or vertically integrated within our whole system of businesses, then we're still doing it the wrong way. Because even if I'm saying, hey, pro-black, 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 and I buy all the Kentakoffs and everything else, but they're being shipped in from China, then it doesn't work. You see what I'm saying? So we have to own the plants. We have to own the shipping process, the freights and everything. We have to be involved in the transportation systems. We have to be involved in the raw minerals and material collection process. And we cannot give up that power, because that's what determines how it is received when it gets to a place like America, right? Because now when we're trying to pay for our things, it's marked up 10, 20 times the price that it's supposed to be, and it's not even going back to the source of where it came from, right? So every dollar that's being spent here today, that's a great thing because it's going into black pockets. But if these black people that are the business owners go back and then spend it at Gucci or anything else, we have failed as a community because the dollar is not circulating. So dollar circulation is more important than anything when it comes to all of the stuff that we're talking about. We could buy black, right? But if the black owners don't continue to put it back into the community over and over again, then it's a repetitive cycle of continuous failures.
Have you ever wondered how our ancestors dealt with what we're calling economics?
I can barely hear you.
I said, have you ever wondered how our ancestors dealt with what we're calling economics?
Yeah.
Because I feel like even the concept of like economics or even what they call a GDP, barter, all these different
but
things.
that's capitalism for you, brother. You
Yeah,
know, like
that's what I'm saying.
capitalism is meant to monopolize, right? America is a monopoly, is the biggest monopoly, right? It has complete control over pretty much all of the world markets, right? Is that not a monopoly, right? So when you look at something like that, and then you look at how we used to operate. I'm just talking about, even if you go back, let's say a couple of hundred years ago, right? I wasn't there, but we understand what a bartering system is.
How you know you weren't there?
Right? But meaning that if you had something that I want and I have something that you want, we'll just trade for it.
Yeah.
And we see that as even, which means we perceive the value. Now someone is telling us a determined value at all times. And if I don't perceive that, that's why it's very hard to justify price.
Wait. So you just said something very interesting. You said determining value, right? So then why is it that we allow someone else's value set, AKA capitalism, to then dominate our lives?
Well,
and the reason why I say that, just not to cut you off, but the reason why I say that is because,
let's try this.
How come we don't think about what it means? I mean, we're not sponsored by Dasani, but hold it up for the camera. No, don't take it off.
No, see, look, that's our problem. We give them free sponsorships.
No, we're not. Dasani, call me. We would like for you to sponsor us. Gator Gates Podcast. Here for you to sponsor us. Dasani, send us an email.
I approve this message.
But she's telling us we got to wrap it up.
Oh man, we were just getting to the good stuff.
We're just getting to the good stuff.
But let me go back into that. Let me retouch on that point. It is basic business 101. Marketing and sales, and I think if anyone can take something away from this, just remember these two terms: marketing and sales. There is no sales without marketing, and there is no marketing without sales, right? The reason that I want you to see it is because I need you to buy it. I want you to buy it, right? So I want you to buy into the lifestyle. I want you to buy into the American dream. I want you to buy into the culture, but I have to put it in front of you at all times. That's why it's important for us to be within these four walls more than it is for us to be on our screens all the time, because it's what's being fed to you through advertisement. I didn't know this existed a year ago. You see what I'm saying? So if I just don't know it exists, then it's foreign to me. That's why it's corny as well. But the thing that's being pushed to me every single day is deemed cool because it's relevant, it's trending, right? So this is not a trend, it's a lifestyle. And we have to start to put more value on our lifestyle. So asking questions like, what is our culture, right? How do we develop stronger cultures? What about ethics? right? Our ethics in our families and in our businesses, we need to determine and start to ask questions about things like that. What do we value in a sense of monetary things, right? Mm-hmm. Because if I have money, but the only thing I value is jewelry and gold and so on and so forth, that's not a bad thing because it expresses our heritage and our royalty and everything else. But if it's the only thing that I value, then I will also be it will be my demise at some point, right? So we have to understand all of these different things. What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? You see how she rocking the beautiful mink? Like, ain't that royalty? You know what I mean? But imagine if we
may
was,
not be real, though.
So what, right? but and look, that's another thing, right?
We don't know, that may not be real too.
You know what I'm saying? But listen, I don't care. Right?
It doesn't bother me, but
and I think that's the things that we have to start to look at as a people. What do we put value on?
Yeah.
Do we care if the coat is real? Yeah. Or do we just like her style and how confident she is in wearing it, right? Listen, I could put on a pair of red bottoms and nobody will ever tell me that they're fake, right? But somebody else could put on the same thing and they'll be like, they're questioning it every single time because it's not the shoe. It's the person wearing it, you know what I mean? So as black people, we are wearing this, right? We are wearing this all the time. We make it look good. We make it cool. We make it the thing to do. So we have to be the trendsetters in that sense and say, I love my black. I love my black at all times. And anything outside of that, we have to put it on the back burner. We have not even on the back burner. Get it out the kitchen. You know what I mean?
They're telling us we got to wrap it up. Free. We appreciate you.
Absolutely. Pleasure
to meet you guys. Such a pleasure. We appreciate you coming on.
That was
we got to wrap it up.
Yeah, we got to wrap it up because our next person is ready. But stick around. Stick around.
Absolutely, brother.
We should finish this conversation. You should come back.
We're gonna keep the conversation going. This is just a tidbit. Make sure you grab a flyer so that even when we start season 2, we can bring you back on and we can continue the conversation.
I wanted to.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.
I need a talk break.
No, we're always ready. Yeah, we're always rolling too.
How are you?
Nice to meet you.
I'm Chanel.
Chanel. My name is Tutipsa.
Tutipsa?
Nice, you got it.
Kajizeriman.
I can't hear you.
Kajizeriman. Kajizeriman. Yeah.
That was a little more difficult.
I know. I get it all the time. It's fine.
I'll try though.
So Chanel.
Yes.
We are, just to give you a little bit of,
Yes.
I don't know if you've been able to hear us.
No.
I know it's because it's kind of hard.
I know you were doing a lot of talking, but I didn't hear anything.
I can already tell this is going to be great.
Oh, yeah.
So, you want to give her a little bit of a backstory of the podcast, and then I can give her.
So we're from Kebta, which is an indigenous organization. We're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. It translates to the Earth Center. So our mission and our goal in life is really to promote and protect and preserve humanity's ancestral culture, meaning like the indigenous culture from Africa, West Africa, also indigenous culture around the world. So this podcast is really kind of like a outreach for that mission in which we kind of get people to understand the indigenous ways and indigenous practices, kind of show people the different perspectives that are coming from indigenous society versus the modern society.
Okay.
Kind of bridge the gap. It makes sense?
Yeah, it makes lots of sense.
Okay.
So my organization, I run a consultancy here in New Jersey called Roots and Bridges.
Oh, nice.
Getting back to our roots, building a bridge across different cultures around education, cultural landscape learning, political advocacy, things like that. So I totally understand.
Nice.
That's actually perfect because that was a conversation we were having with two of the brothers.
Okay.
Before this brother, and we were talking about bridging the gap between Africa and America, particularly for the, I always mispronounce this word and everyone always gets on me, is it diaspora or
diaspora?
Yeah,
however you want to pronounce it.
It doesn't really matter.
No, they were coming at me in the comments some time ago, like, that's not the way you say it. So
they knew what you meant.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, say it again. Say it again for them.
They knew what you meant.
And so it was actually them right there. And what we were talking about was
come on.
We were talking about bridging the gap.
Yeah.
Right? And we were talking about like the difference between how black people look at Africans and how Africans look at black people. And how there's clearly a divide.
Yeah.
And then it's like, how do we bridge that divide? What's your take?
I mean, we have
Just
to
talking
cross,
to the mic. Talking to the
we
mic.
have to cross sectors more, right? Like, I hear so many people. Oh, I'm going to Paris. I'm gonna go to France. I'm gonna go to. When are you going home? Right?
Right.
Like how many? My first trip to Kenya. I did a trek across Kenya by myself, and I ended up in the bush with the Samburu warriors. And so doing some work there, helping to build the school, I'm like, what is one thing you want me to take back with me when I go home? And they were like, take back, bring more, right? Like, we want more people to come. We want more people that look like you to come. Because you go to those places, you see all the time, you see a lot of non-melanated folks that are there, that are building lives. No, they're building lives. They're building
they go to
businesses.
learn.
They're learning.
And they go to take advantage of the cheap
speaking the
resources.
language, right? And so they want to see more of us doing that. And that was the one takeaway. They're like, we bring more people. Bring more people.
So what you just said is interesting. You said you went there and then you asked them, what can you do? And they said, bring more of you.
Yes.
See, here in the States, kind of the way the media puts it, it's like, okay, black Americans are one way and you have Africans who are another way. So then the media has kind of like our minds in a certain kind of way where we perceive each other a certain kind of way. But you're saying that you going there is different than what the media is actually portraying.
Yeah. And I think especially for younger people here, you have this visual of what they think Africa is. They think it's all poor and desert and, homelessness and all of these things, because that's what, like you said, that's what a lot of times, unfortunately, the media portrays poverty, right? And so, again, like I try to frequent there as much as possible. And so 2024, in working with Big Brother, Big Sister, we took a group of 10 or 15 students, 15 through 18, to Ghana. And a lot of the feedback was, we didn't know. We thought it would look like this. We thought the food would taste like that. We thought that, we'd all be sick from feast or famine, right? But when you get a chance to immerse yourself, right, and engage yourself in the culture, the people, the food, you come back with a different ideology of what you see in the media.
Go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
Because she said I was talking a lot. So
I was waiting over there. It was almost Kwanzaa again. And I'm like,
a whole year passed.
I'm just going to sit down because
she was like, I was here at the last Kwanzaa Fest, and I was waiting for my opportunity. So you're kind of an outlier.
Yes.
Like, because not everyone, like even the perspectives you're bringing, everything you're saying, you're the first person we've come across that thinks like that and is speaking on experiences in that way.
Yeah.
So then my question is ultimately, what kind of spurred you on that process? Like, what led you to be like, okay, I'm going?
Yeah, I mean, it was always so I'm an old lady now.
No, you the black don't crack.
You don't look a day over 25.
I'm an old lady now. I'm in my 50s. But I was supposed to go as a graduation gift when I graduated high school. I was pregnant at 18, so that threw that right out the window. And then mothering.
Well, did you take your child with you?
No, mothering in life, and I'm just like, I can't do it. I'm having children. I'm in the military. I'm doing all these things. And then I just buckled down one day and said, I'm going to go. I had met the Samburu warriors here. They had come here for a school visit, and I built a relationship with the chief, and I'm like, I'm coming. And he's like, you're not. And I'm like, I'm coming. And I did.
So you're not coming.
And it was the best experience ever. And I think I probably go like every year. At least once a year I try to go. But that's the goal now. I have grandchildren now. And the goal is to take my grandchildren to experience it before I leave this earth.
So your daughter never went with you?
So I have 5 children. 2 of them have gone. 3 of them have not. So but they're adults now. They're all adults. So it's on them.
You're saying you're not paying for their ticket?
No. It's on them now.
She's like, the gravy train's
The
over.
grandkids, yes, I got them. But the rest of them, nah, you're on your own.
So then, Are you? So let me just say this, right?
Yeah.
And I want to formally extend the invitation. You're more than welcome to come visit the tribe we're associated with as well in West
Yes.
Africa.
You say that, and then when
Yeah.
I pop up,
No, we're
y'all
going.
like, wait
We're
a
going
minute.
next month.
Hold up.
So you tell us when you're ready to pull up.
yes.
Because we have our 30 year anniversary.
Okay.
Our 30-year anniversary for the organization, because we're a Dogon run and a Dogon founded organization. So we were started by a Dogon healer,
Okay.
and he literally was like, all right, like, we got to find ways to bridge the gap, like you
Yes.
said. And then he was like, I'm going to open it up in terms of our culture and open it up to everybody in America
Yeah.
and in other parts of the world. And then bring people from the continent where their blood is originally from here and bring them back. And we're going on 30 years in 2025. So I just want to say, before we say anything else, that invitation is open to you.
down.
And we're gonna expect you.
down.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like, Chanel, where are you?
Like, I'm at the airport already. Where y'all at?
Be like, we're right next to you.
Where's y'all at? That's
So,
right.
what are some of the things you want to see your grandchildren take from the culture in
Yeah.
Africa? And do you envision or do you want to see them start a life in Africa?
Oh, I plan to retire there, right?
Chanel's gonna be living next door to me.
Listen, I don't know where yet, but I really have a liking to Kenya, but I don't know where yet. But yeah, I want my grandchildren to see the culture. One experience I had in Senegal is I didn't see a lot of the culture, and I was a little bit taken aback by it and disappointed, honestly, that, you know, they barely spoke the language, right? Everyone looked like P. Diddy and Jay-Z, like, with their...
In Senegal?
Yes.
Wait,
with
Everybody
their-
look like Puff Daddy?
in terms of, like,
Oh.
their designer
It was
glasses.
Akon City, bro.
Oh, maybe I shouldn't have said Puff Daddy.
I know, I'm like, he ain't there, so he's in Senegal.
In terms of like designer glasses and, you know, designer jeans and things like that. That way, not like
I know, I'm like, you gotta be careful now.
no Diddy,
Yeah, no diddler.
no Diddy. So yeah, I want them to experience places on the continent where they can see the rich culture of where they came from, who they are. You know, I want them to take away that there can be a rich life there in terms of like profession, family. You know, just create those different spaces. And I most of all, I just want them to know that that's a safe space for them. We're entering into a climate where we don't know what's about to happen in 2025, and I want them to feel like home, the continent, can be their refuge.
So what has going home?
What has
Sorry.
going home?
In terms of your worldview and even
terms
in
of
your
your
work that you
worldview.
currently do now, how has going home impacted that?
I just need to bring more. Like they said, I need to do more. I need to expose the richness that I receive when I'm going there to anybody and everybody that I can. So I have two friends who just actually got their dual citizenship in Ghana.
Oh, nice.
Right, in their first trek, they went over with me. And so now it's like I'm bringing more and more, exposing it to more people. So people are going home.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
We gotta connect.
Yeah, for sure. I want you all to walk down to the other end. There's a bookstore called The Source of Knowledge. They're here. They actually hired a village in Kumasi to do all their carvings and paintings of all their masks. So go check them out. They go 4 months. They hired an entire village. They bought some goats and chickens. So not only are they bridging the gap, but they're providing a resource to them where they can take care of their community.
Nice. So nice to meet you, Chanel. We appreciate you.
Appreciate you
Pleasure to
too.
meet
Please, we need a business card or
Yes,
something to be able to
give
keep in
it
touch.
to
Perfect.
All right, thank you.
We have next?
I think Tiasta was so ready to kick everybody out that we didn't even have the next person. But it's okay. We could take a drumming break. Why don't we turn the camera to the drums since we're fighting with the drums? And we can let people see the dance. Oh, it's over? I don't know if it's over, but we can see.
That's a funny question. Should a Capita initiate the year
The
return?
word's still live, bro. It's okay. We're making a dance, a music break, commercial break for what's going on here, so people can get an idea. Oh, turn shot!
They got the
Turn shot, Joshua. Yo, we got Terry Shot and Joshua in the house. Five people so far. He got you on here by force.
He did get me on here by force, but that's my guy, so he can do that.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
To Teepsa.
Marcus.
Marcus?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Marcus.
Marcus. Nice to meet you, man.
So,
okay,
we've been talking about reclaiming identity.
Okay.
Right? Because even like how Kwanzaa started as that.
Naming ourselves, correct.
In terms of taking something and making it ours.
Absolutely.
Right? So we were just having a discussion with a beautiful sister, and we were talking about bridging the gap between America in terms of the diaspora or the diaspora. Everyone always gets on me about the way I pronounce this,
That's all right.
whichever way it is.
We know what you're talking about.
And Africans and Africa.
Okay.
And how there's obviously a cultural disconnect between Africans and black people.
Yes.
And how do we bridge that gap?
Man,
not to oversimplify
no,
it.
I know. I mean, it is. I think it's layered because it's some like real specific steps that have to be like implemented for
keep
us
it real.
to undo the specific steps.
Keep
in
it
the area.
real.
Name 'em
Yeah,
all.
Keep it real.
like we gotta make time for it, right? But we can't make time to share with one another if we know that we all are like caught up in, for instance, like, if capitalism got us going just to survive, we can't spend time diving in, like really spending time in the culture and like, in a way that it needs the attention, right? So there's some like basic needs met that we gotta like solve those problems first before we can like get into some of that dialogue. But I do think the other part for me, and I think about spaces like this, the beautiful thing that I get to do here is use art as that vehicle, right? So literally right now there is connected rhythms performance that right now it's serving as a connection between West African dance, East Indian dance, and sort of Jersey club, and sort of like the connected rhythms there, right? And so I think that the beginning of those points here where we have pieces of what we already have, and then trying to like undo and trying to name, hey, this is connected to something that we might not necessarily be familiar with. So as an artist, I'm always myself, and then as a curator of this space, I'm always trying to figure out how we can use art to leverage those teaching moments.
So then what's next? Is it crip walking in West Africa?
I don't know. We'll see. No, honestly, listen. That's the beautiful thing. Like, I'm down to jump down the rabbit hole. Like, I really am.
I'm not going to Compton, bro.
Listen, hey, we can bring Compton. I don't mind jumping down the rabbit hole. Like, I don't mind having the conversations. We build some of this with not only our community engagement work, but even with our arts education work, building curriculum and dialogue around this kind of stuff. Because I think art as a teaching tool is paramount. So I know to my point about it being like a multi-layered approach, we try to do our part and chip away as artists and do it in this space too.
So how much have you learned about African culture or history just by doing your art? How much have you learned about African history and culture just by incorporating your art?
A lot. Well, I was in a rites of passage program through like my church and that culture, right? That taught me a lot about Kwanzaa the first time, right? The first time I arrived at Kwanzaa was there, and so I learned about I learned there as the child of a part of the diaspora, right? My mom is Caribbean, and so spending time in the Caribbean and then doing some research, understanding.
What island?
Barbados.
Okay.
Yeah.
You said what island? Like you.
Hey, man, sometimes it matters. Sometimes it matters.
Like the way like
Well,
you go to LA, yeah, like you go to LA. Where you from? Yeah, where you from?
Where you really from?
Like this nigga said, what
like,
island?
Check. I had to check. He was like making sure I wasn't perpetrating a Caribbean. But yeah, so like spending some time in Barbados and understanding the history of there and how we essentially got dropped off.
The nigga we sending to Compton for the crib.
Hey, listen, I'm gonna go with you.
No, I'm not.
But yeah. So I think. And then as an artist, I use my artistry now as a songwriter, and I have a theater company in which like we purposely have rallied around Kwanzaa as a holiday to like join our traditions. So our ensemble like has now at this point maybe 3 or 4. I don't know if it's West. I don't want to misquote them, but I know they are songs of the diaspora, and I want to say they're South African, but I might be lying. But in that regard, we take those kind of things seriously. So just like being able to we shared that this morning actually. A group of us shared that this morning. So understanding the language barrier, using art to like close the language barrier and understand those things. It's been great. To like envelop it in some melodies.
So then that means we gotta get a project going.
Absolutely.
We gotta get a project going in terms of the art,
Absolutely.
in terms of the creative aspect and everything West Africa has to offer, and bringing it here and then bringing it to NJPac.
Listen, that's where we start. We have the West African classes. We are intentional about building this space, like just begin to like introduce people to the language of what it means, right? Some of us are so disconnected from even the language of like what these things mean, that these kinds of experiences are like, yes, they're entertaining, but they make a deposit in folks really getting to like closure, right, and connecting those bridges. So
Have you yourself ever been to West Africa?
I have not. It's on my list. I have not.
We're inviting you.
Okay.
We're sending you the formal invitation. We have our 30-year anniversary of the nonprofit.
Okay.
That's starting next month.
Okay.
If you can't make it next month, the invitation is open.
Next month I definitely can't make it, but please, I definitely will. I'm trying to get it.
You can't get off of work?
No, I definitely can't get it.
You ain't committed, huh?
You see how they get you? You see? That's how it goes. Appreciate it.
social workers. So let's get to some of the questions, and then we're gonna wrap it up because they're basically it's too loud, so we don't want to do that to y'all. So what's up, Warrior Zulu Kande? Camp Warrior. Long time no see. Shouldn't Kepta initiate the year or return in Africa instead of Ghana or any politician? Bro, that's what we've been doing for the past 30 years. We've been doing the years of return, bro. It ain't the year of return.
It's a mission.
It's the years of return. We've been doing it. We've been at it.
It's a whole movement.
What is the solution since the majority of the diaspora especially feels disconnected from Africa and don't want to return home? That's what we're talking about. If there was one easy, quick fix, we would have waved the wand of Chutipsa and we would have just fixed it already.
One thing I gotta add to that is like one of the solutions is again, it's kind of education, like getting people to understand there's more similarities than differences. I think the brother right here actually said it. Like I was watching a video literally yesterday, right? It was this girl. She's from the United States. She's a black girl, but then she had friends because she's a dancer. She had friends from Brazil, and she noticed that they do this thing where they go tap tap tap, patty cake, and it's the same thing as playing numbers. And then they ask about it, like, where'd you get that from? They learned it in Brazil from their ancestors, and then they realized that's something that the ancestors from Africa, West Africa specifically, brought over to Brazil. Not only did they bring it to Brazil, they brought it to the United States. It's the exact same thing as playing numbers. You know girls who do that thing? It's the same thing. Double Dutch. Yeah. All of that is West African. But you wouldn't think that.
Whatever,
Yeah, all that. Double Dutch, this, that. It's all West African stuff. But you wouldn't know that if you didn't question it or start to connect with people who are from different places around the world to see the more similarities than the differences. And from understanding that, then we can kind of like bridge the gap by saying, hey, we have this thing in common. What else do you know? What do I not know? You know, just getting educated about certain things.
I hope you guys can hear us.
It's loud as hell
I
over here.
I can barely hear Kaja Zariman. So, do people move to Merita and go through initiation there? Like, is that something people do? Yes. I live in Merita. I have a house in Merita. Kaja Zariman's about to move there. Kiribati is about to move there. Many of us have houses there. Many of us live there. So yes, we do. What is the most important unity amongst humanity or unity amongst indigenous Africans?
Values.
Unity. That's all I can say to you, bro. Just a general unity.
I would say the values, though. It's about the principles.
How can Kepta best describe current change and shift in the world and the political dynamic in Africa? Well, there's a lot happening. So it's hard to say, but there's a lot going on. So I would say just get ready for the changes that are coming, because now everything, even like with Trump, like things are gonna get very different. But before it gets too loud again, shameless plug. Ancasta just released version 2, volume 2 of The Healing Kitchen. Get your copy at anhlife.org. And these are, speaking of unity, these are recipes from all over the world. Grandma's recipes, indigenous recipes collected, contributions we have from initiates, contributions we have from around the world, where you can learn about all of the different, can you like Vanna White this? Like open it, show it off, because I got one hand, I got two hands, I gotta hold the mic. No, open it, bro, show it to them.
Open it, bro.
Yeah, like, show them the recipes. This nigga ain't Vanna White. You fired, bro. Like, we need a new Wheel of Fortune person. So, we're coming back at you. Gate of Gates, season 2, coming soon. Stay locked in, stay aware, because Gator Gates Season 2, when we come back on the air, you know we're going to be coming at you. So get ready, because over here, we're about revolution. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. We're here back with you guys for another episode of Gator Gates Podcast.
It's good to be
and
back.
We'll be back with you guys very soon. Season 2 Gator Gates coming soon. Stay locked in.